What would you suggest will be the reaction, the response of the international community you helped invent to this president? When he gets up on that podium, how's he going to be received?
Amusement.
Entertainment?
Entertainment. Not taking him very seriously.
See, I disagree.
One of the great ironies of the past, I think I just said to you off air because I caught wind of something you were discussing with Eric, all this ridiculous stuff about the end of globalisation. Last year, South Korea's export growth was the best ever since they first started recording trade data in 1956.
Yeah, but to where? Where are they
the
selling
whole world.
to? Right, but then
the
we
whole
have
world. World growth probably started what year is it? 2018 off. Strongest it's been in at least 10 years.
Is the go ahead, Francine.
By the way, I hope Davos doesn't have that mood, because it's usually the only useful thing I ever found about Davos. It was one of the best reverse indicators in the planet.
Mm-hmm.
What if the more optimistic they were?
Trendy, idiotic tone of Davos is usually a thing to fade.
You could argue that we're going to see a watered-down agreement when it comes to Brexit, or you could argue actually the EU is just going to remain like this, that these are not negotiating tactics.
Well, I think from the centre of the EU, those tasked with trying to look at it for the whole 27, I mean, understandably, they're being driven by, we must punish somebody that leaves. It's a pretty rigid stance, and I can see why they would adopt that. Their dilemma, as I think we see some signs of, individual countries who see, you know, their own bilateral things with the UK being threatened with that stance, are starting to say, hang on a minute. And I guess it's in the UK's tactical interest to try and play on what I think the Italians and the Spanish and the Portuguese have been hinting at, that, you know, we don't believe we should be this central, simplistic, must be tough with the UK at all costs.
Okay.
But we'll see where it goes.
Where do you see the UK economy going? And actually, on football, it does impact also, depending on what kind of Brexit we get, it will impact also transfers, won't it?
Well, you would think, but the standards of governance of football are so bad, they manage to circumnavigate any laws about anything, so I shouldn't worry about that. But here's an irony to throw in the pot, which I never thought I'd think myself hearing. It looks to me, from the data I follow, and I still try to follow a lot of this stuff, it looks to me like the UK economy is doing better than a lot of analysts are saying. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks, a lot of UK analysts revise up their UK forecasts. And it will allow all the Brexiteer crowd to start again saying, what's the big fuss? And here, to add to that, it's very tentative, but I think we see the early signs of productivity in the UK picking up too. And I say that because, as I've said to you before, when I was last on, and certainly the time before, I don't believe Brexit is the most important issue facing the UK. As big as it is, it's not the most important. But I think it might give a bit more confidence to the sort of tough guys here in the UK.
I'm going to get this out on Radio London as well, so you see it. Down we go, the gloom, down to parity, up we go. And Jim, you're even talking about a 150 level, the green circle, to really do even better than where we were June 23rd.
Well, it looks to me like the trend has turned. It looked to me early December that was the case. And again, I remember last time I was on here, I remember you showed a trade-weighted chart you found, and from New York, and I said, it's not dropped further since the election. So the markets had somehow figured out something different was going on, arguably that we get a more gentle Brexit or something else. And it looks to me now as though the pound's broken out. So I would not be surprised if we're heading back towards 150.
What pound, what level of sterling does Governor Carney want?
I don't think he really cares.
He does not care if it's a 150 or George Saravelis a 130 at Deutsche Bank or a 110 at RBC Capital Markets. He doesn't care about it?
I don't think the Bank of England really should care, and I certainly don't think they do. That said, at the margin, because they have correctly an inflation targeting mandate, clearly the pound's weakness the past 15 months has not been helpful. So if it were to rise further, it would make their job easier. They certainly won't be writing any more letters to the Chancellor. And importantly, it might help to indirectly stop this squeeze on the UK consumer.